Hi, I'm Eddie Burke. I've been the bartender at the Hollywood Improv for 40 years, and this is my podcast, Eddie's Bar at the Improv. Hey guys, it's Eddie Burke again with another episode of Eddie's Bar at the Improv, where you're going to hear stories and memories of my guests about their careers and the improv. And my guest today is Claudia Lonow.
That's good. You
Yes.
did it. You got the pronunciation right.
You
should.
I've had
I mean, if you
between
don't
you and
know
your
it.
father, I've had plenty of practice.
Yeah.
It's let's just go right into yesteryear.
Okay.
Let's talk about your start as an actress.
Okay.
When you were a young kid.
Yes. Well, you know, both Mark and my mom, Joanne, were struggling actors, and not just struggling, but you know, actors. Yeah. And so I always knew I wanted to do that. One of the jokes I have. Should I do it, or will
Sure,
my mom
go
be
for
mad?
it.
She's heard this joke, so it's okay. I've done everything my mother's done, including ignore me. I wanted to be an actress, and I went to theater camp, and I was super into the drama department when we moved out here, and you know, and I wanted to be professional because at theater camp there were professional actors there, kids, and Mark and Joanne were adamant against it.
Oh,
and then we moved out here, and Mark's agent came over for dinner. Can I curse, by the way?
Sure.
Okay. And at the end of dinner, I brought out my guitar, and I played a song that I wrote that I had also done on audition night at the New York Improv when I was 14, 15. It's called Fuck the World. And the agents were like, you know, if you're okay with it, we'll send her out on things.
Wow.
And everybody was like, well, she probably won't get anything, but it's a good learning experience. But then I did get things. I got like a big guest star part on a Mary Tyler Moore, not real show.
Didn't know that.
But one of the after shows, you know, like one of the ones that only ran for 13 seasons. But it was a big part. It's on YouTube. A fan sent it to me, which is crazy that I even have a fan. It's bizarre.
No, it's not, but go ahead.
It is. It's pretty bizarre. And the week I was shooting that, I got the pilot for Knots Landing. And then that thing, I mean, it ran for 14 years, and I was on it for 5.5 years.
Mm-hmm. So
that's how it happened.
And that was your springboard from
Yes.
there in terms of...
it turns out it was not just the springboard, it was the only thing.
That was it,
Yeah,
for
that
a
was
while?
Basically it.
Well, after that,
I did stand-up.
I know.
Yes.
And
became a writer.
Oh,
No, you know all that.
You
I'm just
are
saying.
an actress, a producer, a writer,
and even a director,
a comedian, and a director.
Yeah,
right? Everything.
That's really hard to break into. It turns out that everything people say about women directing is really true. It's pretty hard, even for me.
Well, it makes you wonder how was it Callie Corey that used to work here that
yes.
And all was able to even. She directed also.
Oh yeah.
It's just it is difficult.
It is hard.
The after Knots Landing,
yes.
You did a little bit of stand-up. You did it here?
Yes, I did it here. Not just a little, Eddie. I was a regular, and I did it for, you know, I did it on and off, but then I really did it for about 6 years. I went on the road. I got, you know, I was a middle.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I even did it when I was pregnant. But then after my daughter was born, also, like, the comedy boom collapsed.
Right, okay.
So it was like, well, this doesn't make any sense. I mean, the money, it's half the money. They want you to pay your hotel, and I have a baby. I mean...
Yeah, it makes it impossible.
And also, I had a realization at that. I said, if you're not better than this by now, it's too late. It's not, you know, literally. It's like, it's not going to happen. You ran out the clock on
Well, that part's not true. You know that. It's there's no time limit in any of these arts. But
well, that was how I felt.
That's how you felt, and,
yes.
And that's fine. You're a not beginnings, but when you performed on stage here, maybe for the first time or at the beginning, Was there like a special feeling because it was the Improv, or had you already been kind of like, not jaded is the wrong word, but
You mean
already
experience?
Yeah.
Wow, I was certainly not jaded about performing here, but I mean, doing stand-up is really intimidating, and I think it was even exacerbated by the fact that it's my stepfather's nightclub. So now everybody thinks, so I have to do great. I mean, it's like, and, if I don't and I still get spots, people will think I'm just getting it because I'm Mark's daughter. And, and I mean, listen, honestly, being a young female stand-up really was difficult.
There wasn't as many back then either.
Well, I mean, yeah, there weren't as many, and it was such a different culture. Hopefully, I think it's changed. It's changed a lot, but it was much harder than. You really
Right.
you realize, there's so many weirdnesses about it that, so I certainly wasn't jaded about it. It was very difficult.
Well, it's.
I mean, my mother was a comic. I mean, and my brother started doing it.
Your brother's issues as a comic.
Michael Rapaport. And,
yes.
That's my brother, half brother, and so it was oddly not. I didn't have competition
Just
between
the family
me and
business.
It was a weird thing because there was like more kind of expectations built into it.
How long did you do stand-up for?
Well, like I said, I mean, the first time I tried it, was with at the New York Improv. We had already moved out here, and I was back in New York visiting my dad. And, my parents are so show businessy, and they have such a work ethic that the feeling that I had about stand-up was that if there's an available stage or venue and you're not doing it, you're like a loser. You're lazy. You have to do these things. And so I called up, Chris Albrecht, because Mark and Joanne had performed at the New York Improv when they were doing improv. They were literally doing improv in New York. And so I knew him. I used to babysit for his then girlfriend's kids when I was 12. Anyway, so that was the first time I did it, and I killed, because a teenage girl singing this soulful song about being depressed, and the chorus is "fuck the world." I mean, you're going to kill with that.
Yeah.
And I did. And then I did it on and off, and then I got serious about it in my 20s, and I might have done it for like 5 or 6 years, like seriously.
What kind of memories do you have of doing it here, and like maybe some weirdness getting off the stage, and getting any feedback from Bud or Mark? Or
no, I didn't get feedback from Bud or Mark, but I did. Oh wow, I can't remember this guy's name. I can't remember which. Oh, I do remember. Okay, he was right.
Whatever it was,
he was right, and I hesitate to say who it was. But he was right, but I was resentful, okay? Because I was like, it made me hurt my feelings. Richard Belzer said, "You're talking into a microphone. You do not need to project." So there was that. And he was right. And then I had, I think some of my more interesting comedic conversations, honestly, were from Jerry Seinfeld.
Okay.
Because he's a great guy. I mean, and I did a lot of emceeing. So, you talk to people, and standing in the hall, you talk
Right.
to people, and that's part of what's great about this lifestyle and being here was that it's not just where you work, it's where you hang out. It's almost like
Yeah.
a school, like,
Well, that's what this place was.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, finally, my parents led the strike to get paid, but there was, it wasn't just where you went to work, it was where you went to see your friends.
Right.
And so I talked to everybody. I mean, you've got to get their intros.
Yeah.
And you're also just waiting to go on. There's nothing to do. And I was talking to Jerry about trying to get my 5 minutes together for television. And he said you have to be brutal, that if things don't work 100%, you have to cut it out. And I did do that, and let me tell you, he was certainly right. The first time I did Evening at the Improv, which was so charged because, as I said, my stepfather owns the club, everybody's watching. I have never been so nervous about anything, and I've done a lot of things. I was on the Tonight Show. I mean, well, I was nervous for that too, but this was on that same level. And
Did you do stand up on?
no, I
okay.
went on when I was on Knots Landing. And if everything hadn't been completely 100% solid, I don't know. I don't think I would have made it through the set. But it was
Yeah.
like my first joke killed, and I relaxed because I knew everything is gonna kill.
Is that
It's
usually
hard.
is that usually the way it happens? Not just for you, but for a comedian up there. If that first joke kills or dies, does the rest of it kind of go in that direction, or are you able to turn it around if it doesn't go well?
Well, I think at that time, all of those skills were not.
Developed?
Yeah, I mean, I could. Yeah, I mean, I could get through shit. I mean, I did this one road trip in Arizona, and I was going to be there for 2 weeks, and I was the middle. And the first week I was following a guy who was much better than me. I don't know why he was opening, and he's from Arizona, and he did lots of voices and sounds and music, and I was just doing, didn't have like a fucking keyboard or a flaming.
It's me.
Yeah. And I died so bad. I called my mother and asked her if I could do parts of her act. And I called Pam Madison, can I do this bit? Because I kept having to cut things. And when you're on the road, you can't leave the stage. I mean, there's like comics here who would go on and just, if they weren't doing, Larry David was
Right.
one, and Janine, was like stand close. And she's not like that anymore. By the way, I just saw her perform in New York, and it was amazing. It was so great. But you're young, and she was like a movie star, so you don't even have to do this. Larry was another story, but
Yes.
so
Okay.
people could bail on if they knew the next com. I mean, seen it didn't happen a lot, but you can bail. But if they're paying you for the week, you cannot bail.
Right.
You have to stay on stage for 30 minutes, even if you're dying.
Well, did your mother say you could use her jokes?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And how did they work? Were they
It
good?
was I had somebody threw a drink at me. I mean, it was.
All right, Joanne.
Yeah, no, not because of that. I mean, I just was not. I don't know what it was about me. It was
wasn't
just
working,
not the
that's
right
all.
fit. Now, the second week, when I was following another guy, I did fine. It was really, I could not follow that guy,
Yeah.
it was just like a bad show lineup.
Well,
Or you'd need a much stronger comic or more experience. I mean, this was one of my first road gigs, so.
Okay. But
Oh,
a
man.
lot of comics have told me too that, so many times you'll do your act and it'll just kill.
Yeah.
And then the next day you'll do the same act the same way, and people just look at you like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And that could very well have been whether or not you felt insecure about the beginning or not. You know, the way the audiences are at times too.
Well, I mean, there's definite differences regionally.
Yes,
There's
yeah.
no question about it. I would say, like, they're real conservative in Arizona at that time. And then I went to Minnesota at Mall of America Knuckleheads. Yeah. I killed all the time. I killed all the time. I was there for 2 weeks. I had the best time. The headliner one week, Ross Mark, I think is his name. He's like a Midwest guy. He knew everything about the Midwest. So it was like, we're going here, we're going there. He was into comic books. You know, wasn't hitting on me. It was fine. I went to the movies. I was like, hang out at the mall. I mean, so there were definitely like markets where for some reason, you know, they like you right off the bat.
Right.
And there are some markets where they don't like you no matter what
At all,
you do.
no matter what.
Yeah.
Are you glad that you stopped stand up? Or do you know, as you said before, do you think I was just done, it was time to stop?
Well, boy, I mean, I got into a completely new career and
Called writing?
and I did have and do very well in that. So I don't feel any regret about
Right.
not performing. Though I do find that when I perform in any capacity now, I'm like way better. So, and I don't know what it is, and maybe it's because it doesn't matter anymore.
Do you ever do it or want to do it again?
Yeah, I
Yeah?
do it.
You
I
do.
mean, I do what I've been doing. Well, is that going to be a bad thing?
No.
Do we have to hold for the
Nope.
ambulance?
We go
Hold
through
for plane?
everything. This is a working world out here.
Working bar.
We've had people drilling upstairs.
Oh my God. You know, I do this sort of like storytelling thing.
Oh, okay.
Not the moth, but sit and spin that Jill Soloway started and Maggie Rowe, Jimmy's wife,
Yes.
produces now. And that's funny. That's and I, you know, and they're generally personal, funny stories. And I found when I started doing that, I was like, God, you are really good at this.
You also have a more of a background now in terms of things when
Yeah.
you do that sort of thing. You have more to draw from.
So, and then I was also doing improv with my mother and daughter at UCB.
Oh, your mother told me about
Yeah,
that. Yes,
it was called Momprov.
Right.
We haven't done it recently,
Now,
but
wait 1 second. Your daughter has had a baby?
my stepdaughter.
Your stepdaughter. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Because I was like,
My stepdaughter
Okay.
and my ex-husband was much older than me.
okay.
So
I thought.
that's all I'm saying. Though technically, it is conceivable that my daughter could have a baby.
Right. Which would, because Joe
Would be
said,
fantastic.
I'm a grandmother.
Yeah.
You know,
She's a grandma. She's a great
A
grandma.
great grandmother, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I know. It's like, and I look at you guys and I go like, you all look so young.
I
you
know we look amazing.
You do.
It's a miracle. Look, it's one of the good things of having to stop drinking at a young age.
when
But let me
Go ahead.
finish about the. So I did the Momprov, and then like you know my daughter I think you know now has her own improv team, so she's lost interest. And I was like, oh, you know, I was really enjoying that. And I was like, well, you know, it's kind of fucked up to depend on your daughter for stage time. So I have been thinking about getting back into stand-up, and I'm going to do an experiment at Sit and Spin in a couple of weeks where I'm not going to read the story, I'm memorizing it.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to pick up the mic and see does this work at all? Because that wasn't what my act was at all. I didn't tell stories. So
No, well, it's a different time.
who knows?
Yes.
I mean, I do feel like, the interesting part about doing it now is, like, when you're younger, you're fueled by grandiose dreams of what can happen. And now I know those are all unrealistic for anybody, but especially for me right now. So, what motivates you to do it, I'm not sure, but I guess it's just because I thought it would be fun. The stakes are very, very low.
But their stakes are low and the stress is high and the tension is high.
It's not. The stress is not high. When I do it now, I don't care.
Okay.
So I mean, that's
Right.
what
Mhm.
that's what is so so different. It's like, before I go on, even if I start to feel a little bit nervous, I go, who cares? I mean,
Yeah.
bomb.
There'll be tomorrow.
But also, like, bomb. Don't be afraid of it. Like, go out there and shit the bed. I mean, what's going to happen?
What got you into writing? I was sort of reading that you gave a joke to Sarah Silverman.
Yes.
And she killed with it.
Yes.
And from there, the rest is history.
Yeah, I did. I gave a joke to Sarah because I was trying to do it and it didn't work for me. And she killed, and I was like, I felt just as good about her killing as like I had written the joke.
Sure.
But I didn't have the pressure of having to perform it or figure out how to perform it. And I mean, I had been working on my writing in terms of scripts all through for a long time. I didn't go to college or any kind of schools, though that would have been a good idea. I just,
in the cards.
I just had a lot of things going on, and.
But you went to a great high school in New York, the High School of Music and Art, which
I
was
did. Yeah.
a really great training ground.
Yeah,
for
well,
you.
that was a fun
I
school.
went to Performing Arts.
Did you really?
Yeah, I didn't graduate from there, but I went there for a year.
Oh my God!
And
I auditioned for that and didn't get in. So
yeah, I remember auditioning for that too.
they could blow up into a hole in the ground, as far as I'm concerned.
No,
Whatever.
I wrote my own little monologue so
should've
that
done
way
that.
you can't screw it up because you can just go with it.
Eddie,
it doesn't matter.
If I could convey to anybody the anxiety of my parents helping me with my audition to Performing Arts, how much I did not like that. And it was like, or their friends.
Right.
I mean, it was like, I remember, because also in New York, it's like, if you don't get into one of these schools, you are fucked.
Yeah.
I mean, you are not going to a nice place.
Right.
Because junior high was not my ideal scenario. So
Great time of life.
I mean, it was like, I don't know where I'm going to wind up. And so the anxiety of auditioning for these schools, I came home from my audition at Performing Arts. I sat down on the floor of our kitchen and was like, man, I got sick for a week.
Really?
I had 104 temperature.
Wow.
I literally said, I mean, my body just went, the anxiety was terrible.
I know. I imagine most people don't really understand what a teenager goes through when they are auditioning for something like that. They just go like, you just go in and do it, and I can imagine Mark coaching you.
It was difficult.
You missed the point.
No, he wasn't like that. He was a little bit more, it was,
I do know. I worked for the man.
Yeah, he was,
Okay. He was very supportive, and
he was very supportive. He was a fantastic.
better tell him not to listen to this.
Fantastic stepfather. No, I mean I adore Mark. I love Mark. Mark is great.
Oh, so do I. I've
Yeah,
known
cut
him
that
for
out.
now for 40 years or
Yeah,
whatever.
Mark is the best thing that ever happened to me and my mom.
Great. What was your after the joke and the start of your writing?
Oh.
What was the first thing that you wrote and sold?
Oh, wow. Well, this is a crazy story because this doesn't happen to anybody. Um, my mom was managing Andrea Abbott, and I pitched some joke, and she had sold and was starring in a pilot for UPN. I pitched some jokes to her in order to get in the writer's room to help on the pilot. And I did, and she said yes. And then it was my first writer's room experience, and I was like, this is where I am meant to be. I mean, it was helpful that I had a similar sensibility to Andrea, but like, I don't know what happened. It was like all of a sudden, her non-writing executive producer was like, "You have to get here at 9 in the morning to look at the sets."
Oh,
I mean,
my God.
he was like a pet, but he was so.
They recognized your talent, I guess, seriously, right
No,
away.
seriously, and he was also like, he's sadly passed, but he was, he had been an executive at CBS, which was where Knots Landing was. He kind of knew the vibe.
Yeah.
The vibe of what we're talking about in terms of this show business background. And so that pilot didn't go. And now I was working as Andrea's assistant. I had left my husband, was living with my parents, by the by. And I got an idea for a show. I pitched it to Joe, who was the executive, over lunch, and he said, "Oh my God, honey, that is fantastic. You should go home and write that," which is code for "I'm buying lunch," and that's about it. And
Yeah, sweetheart, it's been a pleasure. You writes, send me the script.
and the idea was it was semi-autobiographical about a former nighttime soap opera star who gets sober, which was me. And
Is that why you left Knots?
well, no, I didn't leave. My contract was renewed, and I wasn't fired because of that. I just got too old.
Okay.
I just got too old to be the teenage daughter. And I think they were going to, bring in new people. I mean, it was 5.5 years. That's enough of you. And so I wrote the first act. I mean, I had written things, as I said, but not professionally. I sent him the first act. He's like, "This is fantastic. Keep going." I sent him the second act, and he comes up with a title for it, Rude Awakening, and he starts sending it to people. And I mean, I didn't have an agent. My home number was on the cover, and it was very ahead of its time. It was really an anti-heroine who says...
What was the premise of
I
it?
just told you, it's a
Just-
ex-nighttime soap who
The-
gets sober.
Okay.
So she's going to, I called it Addictions Anonymous, to maintain, you're not allowed to, whatever. I called them and said, what can I say? And I mean, I had meetings all over. I had agents calling my house. I didn't have any clothes. I'd left my husband. I was wearing my mother's clothes to these meetings. And, I had interest at HBO, mild interest, but more interest at Showtime. And by this time, the guy Chris Albrecht is the president of HBO, and I do think that he made it sound to the president of Showtime like they were more interested than they were to help me. And so that Joe, the executive, said to the president of Showtime, "You can't buy this pilot, you have to buy the whole first season." And they said, "Well, she needs to come in and tell us what that is." And that was my first pitch meeting, was I'm going to Showtime to pitch a season of a show. And I came up with a thing, and, I knew they already loved the script. And I realized that in the middle of this meeting that, if they like me, they'll believe that the character can be likable.
Right.
And, they did.
They did.
They picked it up. And that was my first writing job, was I created a show.
And how long did it run?
55 episodes.
Wow, that's great.
And, I
for
know.
that to be your first and ran 55 episodes, has a lot of your writing been semi-autobiographical?
Yes.
A lot of you. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, well, this is what I know about.
Well, I even if it's not about me, I just find, I think when you are using your experiences as a springboard, it helps to make things feel more specific. You know, like the more specific you are, the more people relate to it, even if it's not their experience.
Right.
It's something, that they can, key into or be interested in. And so that is, what are you going to do?
Yeah, one of your shows was about your mother and father, or I can't recall the name of it.
How to live with your parents
Yes.
for the rest of your life.
Yes, so I guess Mark and Joanne or
Yes,
whatever.
yes.
And
That was about me living with my parents,
Right.
with my daughter. My daughter and I lived with my parents after I left my ex-husband until my daughter
got married.
left for college.
Okay.
And then even a year after, and then I was like, this is insane. I bought a house with them, so it's not. But at the beginning, I didn't have any money. That's why we
you
did
did
that.
it. Sure.
And I pitched that show for a long time.
How did they feel about it, Mark and Joanne?
They love it.
Yeah.
They would go. I think they still would use it as a reference. But when the show was on, that show that's based on us.
Right.
They love it.
Sure.
They.
Did Mark want to play Mark?
Oh no!
No.
That was no. He was not. No,
not
He
even
was
in the
done.
offing. Did you get to direct any of the episodes?
No.
Because you have directed.
Yeah, I directed, but those were after that. That was. I had a conversation with.
Yeah, I
people
directed.
About that.
What have you directed? Short films?
Yes, I directed 2 short films. And they were in a bunch of festivals and won some awards. And
Right.
Yeah, they're on my Vimeo channel.
And
One of them stars Isabella,
which is
is
her
my daughter.
Mm-hmm. What do you picture yourself continuing to do? In other words, do you want to direct? Do you want to direct and write and produce and whatever?
Well, yes. I like, I like seeing where things take me. I've created 4 shows, and I have, a new project that I'm working on, and but I also really do like being on other people's shows. I like to help other people as well. Because it's, the pressure's not on you.
It's not on you.
So you can just be funny and like helpful, and you don't have to worry about everything. As creatively gratifying as it can be to create your own things, and I have really enjoyed it. I enjoy it a lot in retrospect, but
during the time.
Well, especially in the network model, which I don't even know how long that's going to last, but the experience of coming up with all the episodes, shooting them, editing them, putting in the music, and then it's on television. and the ratings are coming in, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a, you get that email, you get an email the day after your show airs,
Right.
and you already know, like you're on the toilet and looking at your phone.
And that project is way past.
I mean, and you can tell from the subject line how well you did,
Right.
and it's a lot of stress.
When you watch somebody else like direct your life, your episodes and that sort of thing, do you feel like you're missing out there in the sense that this is what I would have done, or this is how I would do it, which is why I ask, like, do you want to continue to produce, direct, write? Because if it's your project and it's about you, do you not feel a little bit more fulfilled if it's all you and in control?
I mean, honestly, not necessarily, because, I do enjoy the collaborative process. I mean, there are other people who have, interesting points of view on what
Sure.
you're doing, and I like to direct. It's fun. It's exciting. But I've worked with directors that I thought were fantastic, and that's all they do. They don't write. They don't write. They
Right, they just
only
direct.
do this job. And there's something valuable about working with people who have a specialty in something. Like when you work with the DP, that's their job,
Yeah.
and they're experts at that. With
So if
directing,
you've hired them, you rely on them,
I
or-
do, but
Yeah.
I also like say, hey, I'm going to say things, and so we should.
We should be friendly
we
and
need to
collaborate.
be clear about that, but those relationships. I mean, look, at the end of the day, which is a sentence that has been ruined by reality television.
Yes.
At the end of the day, the only thing that you take away, besides getting paid for your labor, which is great, but the most important thing that's going to stand out from any of these things you do are the relationships you make and the good times that you had creating something. And so that is like, that is kind of the most important part of this.
Yeah.
Is like, we were all laughing. Oh, when that actress did that thing, it was amazing. And
Yeah.
us sitting together behind the monitor, me and a director, and that was so great. And or your writers, or those moments are like kind of it.
Do you appear in any of the things that you write?
Well, I did in the last episode of Rude Awakening, and that was fun. Though it was so funny because, as I was like, whatever, getting ready to go on camera, I became so self-obsessed about what I look like. It was like I was going, well, this is why you don't want to do this anymore. I mean, this could make you, this makes you absolutely insane. And though, I looked amazing.
You still do. I can't believe how you look.
Thank you. But
it pisses me off. It's like, I go like, Jesus Christ, that's the same girl I knew 20 years ago. You haven't changed.
Well, that is very sweet of you to say. I don't think anybody's changed. I can see the same person in everybody. It's
Okay.
one of my gifts.
All right, so I take it by your answer that you would rather not do any more acting or
No,
continue?
I think like, one of the things about achieving some stability in show business, which is really difficult, to have any kind of stability, is I'm doing anything. But I don't need to.
Right.
I that sounds fun. I mean, there's been a couple of times when people asked me to do things, and well, I was too busy, and I said no. And honestly, there is a little bit of like horror about what you look like on camera, because
Yeah.
even if you look great, the thing is that you see yourself in a way that you never do in real life. You never see, like, look, on Knots Landing, when I was a teenager, I had a scene with a boy. We have a fight. I've got my bike, and and I'm mad, so I throw my bike at him, and then run away. Which, by the way, how'd I get my bike back? But, and I was very excited to see it when it was going to come on TV, and when it came on TV, and I saw myself running away, I was like, "You run, I was appalled. I mean, there's not a, I run as if I run as if I'm making fun of somebody with special needs. That's what it looks
All right.
like. It was like a Napoleon Dynamite run. I mean,
I can
and this
picture-
was
okay.
just like how I run.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I don't need to know that. I don't need to know. Couldn't they cut away? Cut back to him looking at me run. Didn't anybody go, gee, she looks like a moron. She looks like something's the matter with her.
I don't think so. I'm sure it didn't. That's
Trust
just
me.
No.
Trust me. Or, you're like, there's a scene and it's real emotional, and they're just do my close-up as reaction. I don't remember. I'm in a school. I don't remember what was happening, who was talking, or why I had to get upset.
I wanted to know what happened to my bike.
It's like, how come I'm the middle of the drama? But, because I'm a regular. But, and I was like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm really acting up a storm here. I watched it, and it looks like I'm about to fart,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there's things about being an actor where what it comes down to, and I know this now since I'm on the other side of the monitor, is how do you look when you have emotions?
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And how does your face move? How does your body move when you are feeling things? And some people look great, some people don't. I'm not kidding. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But that's the truth.
I'm sure your emotions shine through it, but it reminds me of something.
No.
No, it's I don't know, maybe 10 years ago when
Yes.
Botox was the
yeah.
big thing. I read an interview, or I heard an interview with a director who went like, I just don't know what actresses to hire anymore because everybody's got Botox and nobody can smile or get mad or show anger.
Yes,
so
yes,
it's
yes. I mean, thank God they didn't have that when we were doing Knots Landing.
oh yes.
Because, those women were of that age
Oh yeah.
on the show. And the whole job is showing emotion. But, actually, I didn't know this at the time. There's, I think the trick is, but as I said, I didn't know this was the thing I should be going for, is crying without moving your face too much is a technique.
I'm sure there's a technique for
but
everything.
I didn't know. I was like, I'm really crying
Yeah.
because I want to be real. It turns out, we don't need that. We don't need that
we'll
from you.
Put a little tear on.
Well, they
on
did
your
do that.
face.
When you're doing a thing where you got to cry all the time,
Mm-hmm.
you need it.
when back in the day when you were starting or doing stand-up or starting as an actress,
Yeah.
what did you picture yourself in this position today? Because you've accomplished a lot.
Thank you.
And it's great because I keep up with the stuff through your parents
with the
and what
kids.
you do. Yeah. Yes. Did you ever envision yourself in this position?
No. You mean writing?
Writing, producing, all of it.
No.
Mhm.
No, I thought I was going to be a famous actress.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when I'm writing, sometimes I do think to myself, man, if you were a better actress, you wouldn't have to do all this work. You know, it's like I can't believe that I am in a job where it's like you do homework all the time.
Mhm.
I mean, it's constant. But so no.
So no. So you,
No,
you
no, I had absolutely no clue that I would be doing this.
It's interesting because your career now has been so varied
Yes.
between the producing and the writing and the acting. I would just love to honestly see you in something that you write about yourself, to and see you performing it on screen, because everything that you talk about is just so you and so autobiographical that I would like to see your interpretation of you.
Well, that's very sweet of you to say. That's really hard to make
Okay,
happen.
all right.
I mean, that costs a lot of money and is a lot of work. And I have thought about it, but mostly because I was like, wouldn't it be? I think about it because I go, wouldn't it be great to get Mark and Joanne in a thing? But like that is a lot of work. Cameras and you got to write something.
Mhm.
I mean, that's like a lot of extracurricular work. Like doing those 2 short films. That's a chunk of change.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
No, I talk
You
to
know.
people all the time about short films, and it's very time consuming and hard.
Yeah, it's great. I
Mhm.
enjoyed it. It was fantastic. I want to do it again. But, I have actual jobs, I have to do, and they take a lot of energy, you
Well,
know?
I guess besides, like I said, the acting, the producing, the writing, the directing, you're a mother.
Yeah, that's right.
And you've brought up a kid.
Yeah, I had to do that too.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
not, you add that to everything else that you've done, that makes it pretty hectic at some point.
Yeah. I mean, it's that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, the good thing is that, you know, well, when they're little, you have energy for that.
Right. But
But that goes away. It's like, oh my God, I'm so glad you can drive
I
now.
would love to have gotten whatever thought went through your head at that point. Right now. Just went in there and like, this is why I left. Your daughter is following in your footsteps?
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
She's been working?
Yes, she and her, she does a lot of improv at UCB, and she's in that world as opposed to this one, which is a nicer world in some respects than, although I think the stand-up world is nicer than it used to be as well, just in terms of like I don't know, it's just not as...
The from my experience, and I don't want to say there's been a change in the comedians, and I think it's always been, comedians have been very supportive of each other, I think,
Yes.
for the most part. It's, when people say, oh, they're backstabbing, no, there may always be somebody.
Well,
but
it's very difficult to be competing with your friends. I mean, there's no way to get around that.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're not competing. It's you're you, even though you feel like I got to be funnier than him or her. It's something where there's so much room for everybody.
Yes, that's true.
It's not just like, well, if I'm not funny enough, I'm not going to work,
Right.
or whatever. You just develop your own thing and you do your own thing, and there you go.
Yeah.
It's not because somebody else is successful that I'm not going to be.
Yeah. So she's doing that, and she's been writing. She had, she's in the beginning stages of her career.
But it's interesting because you've got your mother's done the same thing.
Yes.
For the most part.
Well, that's why the Momprov was so
Right.
interesting. 3 generations of women doing improv together, who are also related to each other, was a
Very
unique
closely.
and fantastic and interesting experience. I realized that I knew what my mom was going to do and say.
Oh, interesting, because I was going to ask you if you discovered anything about each other through with
Yes,
these
yes,
improvs.
I discovered a lot. I mean, we had a great time. I mean, I don't know if we're going to do it again, but it was really fun. It was like it was just like the kind of thing that just does not happen in
Right.
everybody's life. So that, where Joanne was like, I mean, even though you never knew what she was going to do, I kind of was like, I could tell, like, sometimes, she doesn't know, it was really funny.
Well, you don't often get three generations of women
Doing anything.
Yeah, together.
But certainly,
And-
yeah. So it was just like, it was great. And I really enjoyed seeing how talented my daughter is and how in control, she does this fucking improv
How old is
shit.
she?
25. She
A
does
young
this stuff
one.
all the time. So, she's really skilled at it. I love watching her do anything, obviously.
Did you ever think of developing a show around
Yes.
that? Yeah. Are you? You should. What are you working on these days? Anything?
Yes. Well, I mean, I sold a thing. I'm writing a script. I don't want to talk
Yeah,
about it because
okay.
it's not done yet.
Right.
But yeah, and I have a deal at Universal, and I sold a thing, and I'm
Okay.
working on it now.
Do you want to do movies, film, as opposed or both to TV?
Uh, it's not like I don't want to do movies. The world that it takes place in, I mean, that the way the business works is not a thing that seems great to me for writers. And it takes so long, and they could, you need to rewrite this whole thing. I had one thing I was working on, and I wrote an outline, I turned in the draft that followed the outline. Oh, we need to start all over, and I'm like, what, are you kidding? I mean, do you know how hard this was? I mean, I have a job. I'm on a show. I'm not writing a movie for free because you don't
Right.
like this. I was like, fuck it. I gave him back the money. And yeah, it's true. I mean, and those people not happy with me.
Yeah,
Even
I'll
when
bet
I
they
gave
are.
back the money, but it was
They
like
should have been happy with that.
I mean, I have to go to work. I'm a single mom who lives with her parents.
Yeah.
I was like, people will go, "Oh, Claudia shouldn't care." I live with my parents. I sound like a joke. I really do, and it's because life is expensive.
Yeah, no.
You
kidding.
know?
Yeah, it's. Do you have your own Twitter accounts, and do you tweet and that sort of thing? And,
I do
and-
tweet, but I don't. Yeah, I do tweet. I'm not great at it.
No.
I like my Instagram account more.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the Claudia Lonow Rapaport, and that is basically my curly hair journey. Now that I'm back on my curly hair, lots of videos of my stepdaughter's son, which I think is my grandson, but I'm really having a hard time wrapping my mind around that, and that's basically it. And just like and flashbacks, throwbacks. I have. Listen, I do have some fans from Knots Landing days that are mostly in other countries. And there's a big French contingent of Knots Landing followers, and in Germany. And they post Instagram things I've never even seen before, and I will repost those. And I also there's one group, I think Knots Landing was called Unter the Sun, California, or something. Unter the Sun. Under the Sun, Under the Sun Californians, I guess. And there's like TV guide descriptions in German. I think that is just hilarious. I think
Right.
it's like the campiest thing in the world.
It's great to have fans from all over the world.
Yes,
you know?
I don't know, the legions of 20 people who are really
I'm sure it's a
really,
little more than 20.
really love Knots Landing. I mean, that was a big show.
Yeah, it was very big. How long did it ran? Like,
14 years,
14
one of the
years.
longest running shows ever
and
at night.
you went back on.
I
later
did go
on.
back on.
Mhm.
I did. I had a 3-episode arc in the last season, which was interesting because first of all, I looked fantastic, and so I was super
And I had
happy about
grown up.
that. I looked great, and there was like an emotional scene between Michelle Lee and I, and I. This is unbelievable, but I did this, by the way. If an actor did this with me, but already on Knots Landing, improvising or reworking a scene they were okay with that. Like there
Okay.
was a big scene Michelle and I had that I got together with her for us to write and work
okay.
on it. And so I pitched things for this scene to the head writer, and she incorporated a bunch of it.
Great.
And I was like, because we have a history, and throw in a couple of these things.
And were
I
you
think
fully writing at that point?
no,
too?
no,
you
I
weren't.
would
Yeah.
no, I was
Mhm.
doing stand up. I
That's
was
it.
I mean, I was writing at home.
Right, but
I
yeah.
was, it was like I was writing at home, and then my mom would read it. And she was very encouraging, so I kept on doing it. But so
Good for her, because look at it now.
yeah, but so like the writer, the head lady, and like the other lady, they added some of it, and I felt really good about that.
Great.
That
Yeah,
was sweet.
I would imagine you would. That's
that
a
was
great
very nice.
accomplishment.
But that was nice of them.
Because usually writers are in a show like, no. This is the scene. This is the words. Follow the words.
I think it's a little different on a drama, because I know in comedy, if people change things, you lose your mind.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do. Not so much anymore. But at the beginning, I was just like, you're blowing the joke if you don't say it
Yeah,
the right
exactly.
way.
I know.
But in a drama, the emotion and the plot points are more important. So that the words, the relationship between the characters, and and you got to hit the plot. So anyway.
Have you mentioned earlier Michael Rapaport?
Oh, yes.
Your brother.
Yes.
And you guys, again, I mean, your family has just been so
Yes.
successful.
Thank you.
Michael too. Michael's doing stand-up again
I
also.
know.
And he's doing very well.
I know.
I won't talk too much about him because he's coming on.
Oh, is he really?
He was supposed to come on next
He's been
week.
like on the road.
Yeah, well, that's what happened. He
I can't. I cannot believe it. Though when he told me, I had read. I read the book. He wrote a book called "This Book Has Balls."
Oh, okay. No,
Oh, Eddie,
I
you
didn't know
got
that.
to. Well, you got to read the book before you.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of it it's all rants.
Uh-huh.
Like it's all on topics. A lot of it is sports. I didn't read the sports thing because I don't know what it is.
Oh, come on.
But like he has. I don't. I don't care. How about that?
All right, there you go.
Like I
okay.
don't care about
She
sports.
doesn't care.
I don't care about sports. But there was a chapter that he wrote just about him exercising and him in sports, and it was so funny.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like saying, well, I guess he built up all this material. I mean, from doing the podcast and the Howard Stern stuff, and I think he does some sports casting again.
He calls into radio shows, sports
I
radio
know.
shows that I listen to, like if I'm in the car, and all of a sudden Michael Rapaport will be on.
I know.
And these people love him.
I know. So and when we started doing the podcast, and then was start to do some live podcasts. I think like the next step to going back to stand up and really having material now. I mean, I just think that's fantastic. I love it. I love my brother, obviously, and think he's so talented. But I just love, I love his work ethic. And his persistence,
He's come a long way. I mean, I remember because again, I've known
brought
you
him
both.
here.
Yeah, and I remember him sitting over there as a 16-year-old kid coming
Yes.
out here and then doing stand-up and people going, don't put him up. He's just, and fast forward 30 years,
I know.
and now his stand-up is so good.
I know, it's crazy.
And his acting is wonderful.
Well, his acting has always been great.
So, and again, the family, the entire family. This is a thing. That's why I said if you write something about you and Joanne and your daughter, I was going to say your sister, your daughter. I mean, you would have to have the entire family working on the show, which you'd almost become Wayans.
We are. I love the Wayans.
Yeah.
It's hard to do, Eddie.
Yeah, I know.
It's hard to do.
know.
Hard to make people give you money to do things you want to do.
It's it'll happen.
Okay.
Claudia, I want to thank you so
Thank
much
you
for being
so
here.
much.
You are
I
so
love
great.
you.
I really appreciate it. I have a little gift for you.
Oh my God.
And the gift, which
Okay.
guys is, if I don't kill myself
Don't
coming
kill
out,
yourself on the cord.
is this shirt
Oh, okay.
like this. I don't know if you saw the back.
Oh, that's
This
fantastic.
is like designed by me. And let me get it
That's
for
a
you.
special shirt.
Yes. Oh yeah, just for this.
I know. I haven't worn an Improv T-shirt since I was a waitress here.
It's and they are just out.
That's
I
fantastic.
just got them done.
I just said to the,
Wait, you were a waitress here?
yeah.
You guys never even talked about that?
You didn't talk about me
yeah,
being
I
a
totally
waitress
forgot
here.
about that.
You want to
Let's,
do 10
yeah,
minutes? Are you
let's-
going to
let's-
edit it together?
Yeah.
Okay.
The audio version. This is, but
All right.
this isn't
Okay.
a private. This isn't.
I mean, if you want to talk about being a
Yeah,
waitress here.
yeah, okay.
You don't have to.
No, I do. I had it in my notes, and I just took because everything
So
was so
fascinating.
interesting. There was
Well, we skipped. It just went from comic to successful writer.
right.
To,
hmm
like this is great.
Yes,
Well,
I-
my
But how does it tie
trajectory.
into this besides Mark?
Right there was
Okay.
a period. Okay, let's
Okay, so
just
let's
go.
do- so,
After you did not slam me,
Yes.
and you were done for a while.
Yeah.
You had another life,
Yes.
another job.
Yes. Some people go from waiter to actress, but I went from actress to waiter. And first when I started here, I was a host, which was, you don't make as much money as a host,
No.
by the by. And then I was a waitress here, or waitron, as we called ourselves.
How was that working for Mark and Bud and whatever?
Well,
Did Mark treat you any differently from anybody?
No. I mean, no. Listen, from Mark's point of view, everybody should wait tables. So, you're not a real person unless you've waited tables. And because he's waited tables
Yes.
and people wait tables. So that is also what I thought, well, waiting tables, people wait tables.
How long?
I did that for years, Eddie. And when I first started, well, the entire time that I was working here, the club was, I mean, people don't understand what the club was like.
No,
You
you didn't move. It was jammed every
People
night.
don't, I don't even think, I guess a nightclub where people go now would be like this, but this was different because, the dining room was packed and the upstairs. There was a point where there was, we were expanded into
The store
whatever
next
is
door,
next
yeah.
door, and there was dancing
Right.
on Monday nights. The showroom was packed, not every night, and there were 3 shows on the weekends, and those were packed.
Well,
Each
you
show
remember
was
all
packed.
that.
Oh, how
Good
could
for
you
you,
forget?
yeah.
I mean, how could you forget? And and so and famous people came in. I mean, like famous people came in all the time, and important show business people
Right.
came in. And from my point of view, I went from hanging out at the club as a TV star ish lit to waitressing at the same club where everybody knew that I used to be on television, but like a week ago.
And now,
I mean, like a couple of months ago, it was like, what the fuck is going on with? And I found I was really. This is going to sound. I don't mean to sound sad, but it was very humiliating, or humbling. And but in retrospect, now I think to myself, you know, Claudia, there are other restaurants that you could have waited tables on. I don't think this is that hard a job to get. So why you decided that the only place, I mean, I am not a person that leaves a place until I am kicked out. And because
that
I was
hard
so,
to do for you.
well,
here.
I was so comfortable here, and I thought, well, I guess this is what I'm doing this now. And that first night that the hosting was pretty easy. That was not a hard job, but the waitressing was incredibly hard. And it was, you know, I was running around, and there was one, I got in the weeds like the first night. It was, you can't even imagine how busy it was.
Oh, I can. I was there.
You can't.
Yeah,
you
you're right.
can't imagine how busy it was. And the manager, at one point I lost my shit, and now people had to help me, but I made it through the night. And the guy who was the manager said at the end of the night, you know, when Mark first told me you were going to do this, I was like, oh, Jesus. And, but, you know, you did a good job. So
Wow, okay.
I did feel good about it. But I realized, but I hated being out here because Bud wouldn't let you sit down even if there was nobody here. And waitressing is, by the way, one of the worst jobs. That's why, I mean, when people
Yeah.
say the sentence, at least it's not waiting tables, I am telling you, they have a point.
Yeah.
So I would work in the showroom, and which was much more fun. It was just better because you'd see the comics, and you know, you didn't have to interact with people. But you would have like a section, and on the weekends, I mean, you would have 20 drinks on a tray. I mean, 20. This was a huge tray, and you had to go in these sections like quietly. There's comics on, get people's orders, bring out 2 drinks, get their money in five comics, which is like each comic does 20 minutes. I don't do math. I didn't go to college, but that's not a long time. And it was really fast paced. But I didn't love it. But you could smoke back then,
Right.
so that made it easier.
How did Claudia Lonow try to when you're working waitressing under these circumstances, try to blend into the walls at times when you would see producers that you worked for, or just people that knew who you were?
No. You know, I felt like this is weird, but I mean, one of the good things about, I guess, you know, without being like public, but about getting sober, is that I realized that, you know, a humbling experience. Look, I hated it at the time, but I knew that it was good for me. You know, I knew that this was going to be good for me. I mean, even though I didn't feel it, I thought,
Right.
this is terrible. I mean, I can't believe this. You know, how am I messing everything up? How are you a has-been at 22? I mean, why can't I get this back together again? I was so great at this. I was like, I like walked in from high school and was on television. I'm like, I'm
You're
a,
hot
I'm
shit,
a, I'm,
yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
I'm a,
I'm a star.
I'm a real ball buster, only to realize that, no, you're not. You were lucky. You were in the right place at the right time. You looked a little bit like Christy McNichol, and the
Okay.
guy wanted somebody like that, and he
But
wanted.
you were pre-Christy McNichol.
No.
No, same time?
Yeah, same
Yeah.
time. I lost a lot of TV movies to Christy McNichol. Literally.
I believe you.
Like if they couldn't get her, this is like, oh, this is the chubby version of that. And she's angry. That's like Christy McNichol. I mean, I had a lot of angsty shit, and like other teenagers, just they didn't look realistic, and I did
Okay.
at that time.
When
But,
you
yeah.
when you were waitressing, as a waitress, was there ever anybody that you went like, oh wow, I'm waiting on somebody big or like another star or something like that?
Well,
Did you ever get that feeling
I
that a
don't-
lot of waiters and waitresses do?
Well, no, but I had. This is. I'm not.
Waiting on another star.
Yeah. Who's the guy who played RoboCop? What's his name? Peter Weller.
Peter Weller,
Okay.
yes, okay.
Okay, this is I'm not waitressing. I was a hostess, and I was wearing a white sweatshirt dress, and I had just listen. I had just had my teeth cleaned that day, and the dental hygienist wasn't happy with my teeth cleaning technique, so she gave me a small little bottle of something called plaque indicator, which is liquid in a little bottle, and it's blue, and you put it in your mouth, and it shows you where your plaque is. Okay,
God.
so now, and I've got
Hi,
my purse,
Peter.
and I'm at the, well, don't blow it. I'm at the stool at the thing, and someone says, Peter Weller, I see Peter Weller walking in, and, I always thought every famous person that would come in, obviously, they're going to fall in love with me, and something amazing is going to happen. So I reach into my purse to get breath drops, but instead, I pull out the plaque indicator, squirt it all over my mouth, and it goes all over my white thing just as he comes up to the cash register. And I am trying to go, I got plaque indicator. I mean, it was,
just
he did not
devastating.
marry me. Did not marry me.
No, and you missed out. But
Yeah, but that was my big one. Willem Dafoe came in. Everybody was talking about that. I remember that.
Who
Those
were
are the-
some of the people that you remember coming in back then?
Well, Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, okay.
Peter Weller. I mean, all
Because
the.
everybody did. Everybody.
Yeah, I think. Listen, I'm going to be honest and say, Amanda Plummer. I hung out with her. That was when I was on television. That
Not as a
was
waitress?
No, and Timothy Hutton. Me and Callie Corey, I think, went out with Timothy Hutton and this director, and Timothy Hutton was making out with a Playboy playmate the whole time, and then we went to Rick James's hotel
Wow.
room at the Chateau Marmont, and we were just like so bored because nobody was paying attention to us. It's like, let's get out of here. I don't want to hang out with Rick James. If no one's going to talk
Pay
to me.
attention to me, yeah.
I'm like,
It's like, yoo-hoo, here I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah, so, that was, and Robin Williams. I mean, Robin Williams lived with us when I was a kid.
Oh, did he?
Yes,
Okay.
he was going out with Elaine Boozler, and they slept on our couch or something.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's because Elaine has a long history with the Improv,
Yes.
back to New York and
Yes, yes,
everything
yes.
and all.
Yes.
I just laugh at the fact that you're waitressing, and the funniest part for me is that you're waitressing for Mark after all this, because Mark was not the easiest person to deal with as a boss.
Yeah, but
It's-
he was pretty. In every working situation that I've been in with Mark has always been good.
That's good. That's
You know,
interesting.
he and
yeah.
I did a play together when I was just out of high school, and I'm still living at home, and like we'd have a fight at home, but then when we got to the theater, like it all went away,
Yeah.
and I thought to myself, "Hey, this is a great."
A lot of people don't know Mark as an actor. Mark was a wonderful actor.
Oh,
He-
yeah.
He did a lot of stuff.
Oh, Mark was a wonderful
Yeah.
actor. Mark is, you know, I mean, and the other thing, I remember I was helping Mark at one point when he was giving the comedy class. And Mark's ability to be interested in everybody when I would be, this person sucks and they shouldn't do this. In my brain, I'm like going, and Mark would like, you know, be able to help them and give them notes and talk about. I mean, Mark is so creative. That's why I say that, you know, he was a great fit for me and my mom.
He was creative. He also, as a communicator in the classes.
Yes.
I mean, I would have some of the students would come out at different times or another night and go like, "It's the best class I've ever taken."
Oh, yeah. I mean-
he tells us exactly where it's at.
Yeah.
There's no pulling punches, and it's not that he's rude. He does it in a very creative way.
Yeah, no, Mark is a great guy. So I didn't have a problem waitressing with
Waitressing,
him.
yeah.
No, I
Oh.
mean, I think it was a camaraderie. And he was professional. I mean, I didn't get any special treatment, but I don't think there was a lot of yelling at the wait staff.
No, not in public anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Eileen was working there.
Yes!
Eileen Kahn.
Yes.
And anybody else that you remember at that time?
Well, I remember everybody, but
Anybody that,
Who-
other than
like-
Eileen, that became,
like Callie Corey,
yes, of
but
course,
obviously.
yeah. Mhm.
No, that's all I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, well, there, Eileen and, who is it? Gwen and Loretta.
Yes.
They, we're going to do a group
Oh, that's fantastic.
one day. And like, if we do, I'll let you know about it if you
Okay.
want to be part of it, because
Yeah.
they're dying to shoot the shit
Yeah, I
together.
mean, there was a whole lot of mishigas about the head waitress and where you were on the
Yeah.
thing in terms of what section you got,
Mhm.
and it was.
Yeah,
there were moments.
There'll be stories to tell.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks again,
All right,
Claudia.
thank you, Eddie.
I do appreciate it so much.
This was fun.
Yeah, this is good. I'm glad you liked it. And
Oh, and I get my shirt
you
now.
get your shirt.
Yay.
Again, this is it. And I have to say, I'm very proud that I designed this
Oh, I love it.
in like 5 minutes on a napkin.
After I spent
Oh, my
2 hours
God.
After
working on it.
2 hours, after he spent days working on another thing that was great,
Uh-huh.
but I just got so tired of getting input and stuff like that. I said, fuck it. I just sat down and came up with this.
Well, that brick wall is classic.
This, what size do you wear? Would you
No, a
wear?
medium.
A medium. Is this
I'll
a
wear it to
medium
the
by
gym.
luck? No, this is an XL. I'll get you a medium.
Get me a medium.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Again, guys, thanks for listening. My 3 listeners. Thanks to Mike Carano. And thanks to Claudia Lonow. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Eddie.
it.
Love
We'll-
you.
We'll see you next time.